Woollight gathers at the tall upstairs window before the room has any need to speak. This is the quiet part of night, the part left soft and unhurried. I am the night keeper, and tonight the key fits the door of the Woollight map room. The soft brass key rests on a worn leather cord, light enough to be carried without sound, warm enough from the hand to seem almost awake. It turns once in the small round lock. The latch stays soft. The hinge gives no complaint. The door gives way as if it has been expecting this hour all along. Inside, the room is already gentle. Rain touches the glass in patient beads and trails. The ceiling is low in a comforting way, crossed with dark beams that hold the amber light close. Along the walls, cedar drawers lie stacked in calm rows, each one fitted with a small, dull handle. Each one holding cloth maps, folded flat as blankets. The map table stands at the center, wide and smooth, with one linen cover drawn halfway back, as if the room has kept a place ready. A lantern waits on the left side of the table. Its flame is low, not bright enough to demand attention, only bright enough to make a small world around itself. The lamplight touches a porcelain cup, a flat river stone, the rounded end of a rolled map, and then settles into the wool blanket, folded on the window seat. Beyond the window, rooftops sleep below mist-grey rain. Their chimneys are dark. Their little panes hold one or two steady dots of warmth. In this room, there is nothing to solve. The maps rest, instead of leaning toward distance. The drawers stay quiet. The compass in its velvet box remains closed, and even closed, it seems perfectly content, perfectly cotzed. The floorboards keep their quiet. The walls keep their warmth. The room has the feeling of a library, after every book has found its shelf, or a kitchen, after bread has cooled and been covered with a clean cloth. The door eases shut behind the night keeper, and the hush becomes complete. The hush has weight, the gentle kind, filled with small soft things, rain on glass, wool holding warmth, cedar, breathing slowly from the drawers, the faintest tick from the lamp, as metal and flame agree to rest together. The key lies for a moment on the table beside the lantern, and the leather cord makes a little curve like a path on an unwritten map. A first cloth roll waits near the table. Edge, its ribbon has no knot, only a loose tuck. The fabric is the color of old cream in lamplight, with lines of thread, crossing it in muted green, grey, and warm brown. It carries no words or names to remember. Small amber dots mark windows, porches, and rooms where nothing demanding is happening. A narrow river is shown by two blue-grey stitches, and a road is shown by a row of pale seed marks, each one small enough to be a sleepy thought. The night keeper lifts the linen cover and folds it once, then again, making a quiet square near the lamp. The movement is unhurried. The room accepts it. Rain continues down the tall window, and the window gives the rain back to the dark without comment. The cloth roll is placed in the center of the table, and the first edge is opened with two careful hands. No flash, no bloom. The map simply settles. Its threads remember being flat. Its tiny roads lie down. The first amber dot brightens, then softens, like a window seen from the end of a lane. The whole room seems to lean closer, but only by a breath. So, the Woollight map room begins tonight with the door warm behind it, the table made, ready, the low lantern rain on the glass, and a map that leads only where rest can follow. The center table is broad enough for weather to become small. Its surface has no hard shine, only the softer glow of wood touched often, and cleaned with care, wood that remembers elbows, folded sleeves, quiet hands, and the corners of many cloth maps. A shallow hollow runs along one edge where a thumb might rest while a roll is opened. In that hollow, lamplight gathers as if it too is resting there. Near the cup, the flat river stone holds down the loose corner of the first map. The stone is smooth and grey, with one pale line across it, like a river seen from far above. It belongs to no dramatic place. It has the calm authority of something brought in from a path long ago, rinsed, dried, and kept because its weight is exactly right. The porcelain cup holds only warmth now, no steam strong enough to rise. Its rim is thin. Its glaze has a small blue flower almost hidden near the handle, the kind of detail that only appears when the lantern shifts. Beside it sits a folded linen square, soft from washing, ready for any hand that wants to rest on cloth instead of wood. The first map lies open. It shows a room within a room, a small drawing of a covered porch, a bend of garden, wall, 3 window dots, and a path that circles home before it has any chance to become a journey. The thread roads are not straight. They curve the way sleep curves around thought. One line slips beside a hedge. Another crosses a bridge, no longer than a finger, and another vanishes under a stitched eave, where rain would be heard, but not felt. The night keeper leaves the map unexplained. The room can do that for itself. It offers a way for the mind to move without needing to arrive. Travel wants a destination. Here, movement can be as small as the glow shifting from one handle to another, as small as the wool blanket relaxing into its fold, as small as rain finding a new track down the window. The cedar drawers along the wall make a gentle order. Some are narrow, made for long roads. Some are deep, made for folded valleys. A few have brass label plates. But no words are readable in this light, only soft bars of warmth. The handles are worn at the center, not sharp at the edges. They are the sort of handles that can be opened with 2 fingers and closed with less sound than a breath. One drawer sits slightly open, not enough to invite curiosity, only enough to show the velvet lining inside. Its color is muted forested green. A roll of darker cloth rests there, tied with gray thread. Another drawer holds a set of tiny warm window pins, each one no larger than a raindrop, kept in a shallow wooden tray. Their work is quieter than planning routes. Their work is quieter than planning routes. They are more like little lamps, placed where the map wants a house to be remembered. The room keeps everything within reach. The blanket is on the window seat. The cup is near the right hand. The lamp is low. The door is closed. The lock is quiet. The maps are soft. Outside, rain leans down the glass and disappears into the dark edge of the sill. Inside, every object has already decided to be useful without asking for notice. A second corner of the map is eased, open. The cloth makes a faint sound, halfway between a page turning and a sleeve brushing a table. The porch on the map grows clearer. A railing appears in brown thread. A roof edge appears in grey. There are 3 steps, then a narrow bench beneath the eaves. Nothing waits on the bench except a folded cushion and the suggestion of dry wood. The lantern sends a small circle of amber over that porch, and for a moment the table seems to hold the warmth of a place beyond the room. The place is not far and not separate. It is only the map showing one restful corner of its own quiet, with the room answering in its own. The night keeper lets the cloth settle. The river stone remains where it is. The cup keeps its warmth. The drawers keep their cedar breath. The window seat waits with its wool blanket, looking out over sleeping roofs. In the Woollight Map room, even waiting had the texture, linen under the palm, wood beneath the linen, rain beyond the glass, and the first soft road lying open in the lamp. The cedar drawers hold their own kind of evening. When one opens, the scent rises slowly, not sharp, not new, but dry and steady, like the inside of a clean chest in a quiet room. The handle gives under 2 fingers. The drawer slides forward along its wooden runners with a sound so low it seems to belong to the rain. Inside, maps rest by texture. There is a stack of smooth linen maps, pale as oatmeal in the lamplight. There are thicker wool-backed maps, soft at the edges, made for places where the air would be cool. There are narrow strips of map that show only footpaths, bridges, and the sides of hills. There are tiny square maps for rooms, landings, window seats, porches, courge, greenhouses, ferry benches, bathhouse corners, and other places where stillness has a shape. The night keeper lifts one narrow strip and lays it beside the open porch map. It shows only a railing, a row of rain dots, and 3 small lamps under a roof. The lamps are stitched in amber thread, but they do not shine loudly. They seem to remember light rather than make it. A folded corner of the strip shows a wool basket beside a door, the kind of basket that might hold slippers, or rolled blankets, or nothing at all. Another drawer opens. This one is lined with blue-grey velvet, soft enough that the rolls do not shift when the drawer moves. A compass box rests in the back, square and dark, with its lid closed. The compass is not needed yet. It may not be needed at all. In this room, direction is less important than softness. The maps know how to return. Small paperweights wait here too, each one gathered from a place that never asks to be named. A green stone like moss, a white shell with a faint pink mouth, a piece of dark glass softened by water, a round, wooden button from a coat no longer present. Each weight is used to hold down a corner, and each corner, when held, becomes calm. A tray of warm window pins slides forward. They look like little beads in tiny brass rims. The night keeper touches one and places it near the porch bench on the open map. The bead glows in the lantern circle. There is no grand magic in it. Small things are simply allowed to answer light. The porch now has a window behind it. The window has warmth. The warmth has no story to tell, except that someone, somewhere in the map, has left a lamp low. The brass key returns, once in the middle of the cedar, sorting, almost without notice. The night keeper gathers the leather cord and slips it into a coat pocket before opening the lower drawer, so it will not tap against the wood. The small gesture changes nothing and completes something. The room becomes quieter because the small brass weight has found a quieter place. The lower drawer is wider. It holds maps of floors. One shows a kitchen after supper, chairs tucked in, moonlight on a clean basin. One shows a sleeping railway platform with a bench under a roof and no train required. One shows an herb room where jars are turned away from the light, so their labels do not matter. One shows a little stone landing beside a river, with two lanterns drawn close together under rain. None of the maps ask to be chosen. Choice can stay asleep here, because every possible place is already gentle. Any drawer could open, any cloth could unfold. Any little path could be followed for a while, and each would circle back to the table. The cup, the wool blanket, the tall window, the low lamp. A dust mote drifts through the lantern beam. Then, another. They move slowly enough to become part of the furniture. The room seems to measure time by their descent, though no clock is present. A drawer is closed. Another remains open by the width of a finger. The scent of cedar becomes softer as it spreads. The velvet lining takes the lamplight and gives it back as green shadow. On the table, the porch map waits beneath the river stone. The narrow strip of railing lies beside it. The warm window pin keeps its tiny amber thought. Outside, the rain has settled into an even rhythm. It brings no threat to the room. It only makes the room more clearly itself. The night keeper rests one hand on the edge of the drawer, then lets it slide home. The sound is like a long breath finishing. No task has been finished, because no task was waiting. The drawers have simply shown what they hold: soft roads, folded rooms, little lamps, and the patient order of things, kept ready for a night like this. The porch on the first map becomes clear enough to rest inside without leaving the room. It is a covered porch drawn in thread and lamplight, with wide wooden boards, a low railing, and rain beyond the eaves. The rain is drawn as small blue-grey beads, each bead held at the edge of the roof where the water falls away from the dry place beneath. Along the inner wall, a bench waits. Its cushion is the color of warm milk, with a brown stitched edge. A folded shawl lies at one end, not placed for any character, not waiting for a scene, just present in the way comfortable things are present. A pair of slippers stands beside the door, toes pointed toward the room beyond, but the door is closed and content to remain closed. The porch has no view that needs admiring. It looks out on rain, a few garden shapes, and the soft dark between them. A clay pot sits near the railing, its leaves drawn as muted green marks. The leaves are turned downward, heavy with water, but the pot itself is under the roof and dry. The wood grain of the floor follows the length of the porch in long, sleepy lines. Where the grain bends around a knot, the map thread changes color by a shade. And that is enough to make the whole place feel tended. The little warm window pin sits behind the bench. It suggests a room deeper in, perhaps with a lamp low on a shelf, perhaps with a kettle long since quiet, perhaps with nothing more than folded towels and the smell of clean wood. The map leaves it unsaid, and that is softer. It offers the porch, and the porch offers rain outside and dryness within. The night keeper places the river stone near the roofline, so the cloth will not curl. Under the stone, a corner of rain disappears and then returns when the fabric relaxes. This small vanishing and returning feels as peaceful as breathing, as blee. The map is alive, only in the quiet way. Cloth is alive when it remembers being woven, only in the way lamplight is alive when it moves across a surface. A path leaves the porch steps. It is barely a path, just 3 pale marks and a curve toward a low gate. The gate is closed, and on this map, closed things are restful. They mean shelter. They mean no further decision. The path turns back before the gate and returns to the porch, making a loop so small the mind can follow it and forget it in the same breath. The room around the table answers the map. Rain beads on the actual window. The wool blanket on the actual window seat keeps its fold. The cedar drawers stand like a quiet hillside along the wall. The cup near the lamp holds the last of its warmth. The open map and the room become 2 versions of the same calm idea. A covered place, a low light, and weather kept gently outside. No footsteps cross the porch. No knock comes, no message, no need for a guest. The bench is empty in the restful sense. Empty, like a pillow before sleep, like a chair beside a window, like a bowl washed and turned upside down to dry. The night keeper smooths the edge of the map with the side of a hand. The thread road settles flatter. The rain beads beyond the eaves seem to lengthen by 1 stitch, then hold. A second warm window pin is not added. 1 is enough. Too much light would make a story. 1 low lamp makes a place. For a long while, the porch map is simply allowed to be open. Nothing changes except the small weather of the room. A softer drop runs down the window. A mote shifts near the lantern. The flame leans and straightens. The wool blanket receives a little more amber along its edge. The river stone cools where it touches cloth. When the map is ready to rest, the night keeper lifts the stone and folds the lower edge once. The porch steps disappear first, then the railing, then the bench cushion. The rain beads remain until the last fold, and then they too become fabric. The warm window pin is lifted and returned to its tray. The map is rolled, tied with the loose ribbon, and placed beside the table, where it keeps the memory of rain without asking anyone to remember it. The room remains. That is the promise of every map here. A place may open softly, a place may close softly. The Woollight map room stays around it all, dry, amber, cedar-scented, and patient above the sleeping rooftops. The next map is thicker, backed with wool, and it unrolls more slowly. Its edge is bound in dark green thread. When it settles on the table, the surface has a faint nap, so the lamplight does not slide across it quickly. It rests there like a small hillside under evening. This map shows a path climbing, though climbing is almost too strong a word for what it does. The path rises by small curves, each one easy, each one interrupted by a flat place where a lantern hangs from a low post. The lanterns are not bright. They are warm dots with little halos stitched in amber thread. Between them are mossy stones, a fence that bends with the hill, and below it all, the suggestion of sleeping roofs tucked into mist. The roofs are simple shapes, slanted grey, soft brown, one with a chimney, one with a little window, one almost hidden behind a tree. No smoke moves, no door opens. The town below has finished its day. The hill above it is no lookout. It is only a place where small lamps make a quiet path through air that smells of wet leaves and wool. The night keeper places the map so the first lantern stands within the circle of the actual lamp. The two lights meet without changing each other. One is drawn, one is burning. Both are low enough to leave the room restful. A tiny stitched rail follows part of the path. Its posts are uneven in the pleasing way of handmade things. One post leans slightly left. Another has a knot in the thread. Nothing is perfect, and so nothing feels sharp. The path does not lead to a summit. At the top of the cloth, it curves behind a small shed with a rounded roof and returns by another line. The return path is even softer, shown by grey stitches almost hidden in the green. A bedtime path asks for no achievement. It offers a little movement, a little height, a little view, and then a way back that feels natural before the mind wonders where it is going. A small wool scrap is tucked in the corner of this map, stitched down on 3 sides like a pocket. Inside the pocket lies a thread, the color of moonlight. The night keeper draws it out only a little and lays it across the lowest part of the hill. It becomes a mist line over the roofs. The effect is so small that it could be missed, and that is why it works. The town grows softer. The lanterns grow gentler. The hill seems to settle further into the table. The room outside the map has its own hillside of drawers. Their brass handles catch the lamp one by one. Above them, shelves hold rolled maps in shadow, their ends round and quiet. The window reflects part of the room now. The lamp, the table, the faint outline of the night keeper's sleeve, the wool blanket folded in the seat. Beyond the reflection, the rooftops below the real room are dark and misty, like a second map without thread. The hill lantern map is followed by attention, not by feet. The first lamp, the small rail, the mossy stone, the roofs below, the grey return path, the little shed that is not entered, the mist thread laid gently across the lower slope. Attention can move over these things without waking. It can rest at each one and then drift to the next. At the middle of the map, a bench appears under a leaning tree. The bench is only 2 brown stitches and a line of shadow. It faces away from the town, toward the hill path. A leaf has been stitched, as if it fell onto one end of the bench and stayed there. The leaf is muted gold, no larger than a seed. The map gives it no reason. Some restful things do not need reasons. The night keeper lets the map remain open longer than the first. The wool backing holds warmth from the table. The lamp holds its low circle. The rain outside becomes finer, more like a veil than drops. The actual room and the hill map share the same patient air. Nothing presses forward. The path can rise and return forever, or it can fold away now. Both would be all right. When the folding begins, it follows the path backward. The return line disappears first. The shed becomes a green corner. The bench and the leaf fold into the hill. The lanterns vanish one by one, not going out, only becoming thread again. The roofs below are the last to be covered by the fold, and even then, the mist line remains for a breath, pale and soft. The map is rolled with its wool side inward to keep the warmth. It is placed in the blue-grey drawer, not the green one, because tonight the mist felt stronger than the moss. The drawer slides in. The hand loses its amber highlight. The table opens back into its own calm space, ready for whatever small root comes next, or for no root at all. The compass box is brought to the table only after the hill map has been returned. It is square, made of dark wood, but with corners rubbed smooth by many quiet evenings. The latch is small and plain. When it opens, there is no bright gleam, only the soft, round face of the compass resting in velvet. The needle does not tremble. It lies nearly still, angled between directions, as if it has forgotten that pointing can be insistent. The letters around its edge are too small to read in the low light, and no one needs them. North, south, east and west are busy ideas in other rooms. Here, direction can be a bowl, a blanket, a drawer, a window, a table, a cup. The night keeper sets the compass beside the river stone. The two objects make a quiet pair, one that knows weight, one that knows direction, neither one using that knowledge loudly. The lantern warms the compass glass. A small crescent of amber appears on its surface. The needle receives the crescent and keeps still. In the same drawer as the compass are the small weights, the moss-green stone, the pale shell, the dark water-smoothed glass, the wooden button. They are arranged in shallow grooves, lined with velvet. Each has its place, but the arrangement feels forgiving. If one were moved, the drawer would still be restful. The velvet would simply remember a different shape. A map strip is chosen for the compass to hold down. It gives no directions. It shows a window seat, a shelf, half, a folded blanket, and a line of rooftops below. The compass sits at the edge where a person might otherwise expect a road. Its presence changes the meaning of the strip. It says there is no need to go anywhere. It says that a room can be enough of a direction. The rain outside thickens for a little while. The sound remains soft. Because the glass is old, and the walls are warm. Drops gather on the upper panes and slide down in wavering lines. When they pass the reflected lantern, each drop briefly carries a thread of amber. Then it is gone into the dark sill. The room never follows it. The room stays. Later, the brass key gives one small sound from the pocket as the night keeper bends to replace the compass drawer. A single muted click answers the drawer handle, then quiet returns. The sound is no signal, only a reminder of the threshold already crossed and the door waiting warmly behind. The compass box remains open for a while. After that, the needle, released from any expectation, drifts by the smallest measure and settles again. It points somewhere between the table and the window. Perhaps that is the room's true direction tonight. Toward rain, toward wool, toward the sleeping roofs below. A tiny map of a river bend is taken from the side tray. It shows water, not as blue, but as grey silk thread. The river makes one curve around a stand of reeds and then disappears under a little arched bridge. The bridge has no traffic. The reeds have no wind. On the far side of the river, 3 warm dots suggest cottages, but no road insists on reaching them. The compass rests on the near bank, and suddenly the whole river bend feels close enough to touch. The night keeper leaves the river on the table. The map stays still. The river remains cloth. The mind may move along it, if it wants, very slowly, reed by reed, curve by curve, bridge arch by bridge arch. It may pause beneath the bridge, where the stitched shadow is deep but not dark. It may notice that the cottages are warm but distant. It may return to the compass glass and the amber crescent on it. The porcelain cup is moved a little farther from the map, not from worry, only because order itself can be soothing when it is gentle. The linen square is folded once more. The moss-green stone is placed near the river bend. The shell remains in the drawer. The wooden button is turned, so Its two holes catch no light. For several quiet breaths, the table holds a still arrangement. Compass, river stone, green stone, river map, cup, folded linen, low lantern. Nothing in it needs to mean more than itself. That is part of its kindness. The mind can stop translating. Wood is wood. Rain is rain. Cloth is cloth. Warmth is warmth. When the compass box is finally closed, the latch meets with barely a tap. The river map is folded along its curve. The green stone returns to velvet. The drawer accepts each object and slides home. Direction has been considered and then allowed to rest. The Woollight map room remains above the town, and every possible way out has become another way of staying. The window seat is deep enough to hold a folded blanket, a small cushion, and the quiet of the town below. It is built into the wall, beneath the tallest window, where the glass rises almost to the beams and turns the room into a soft reflection after dark. The wood of the seat is painted a color between grey and green, worn at the front edge where fabric has brushed it for years. The wool blanket rests in 3 folds. Its weave is visible in the lamp glow. One thread, warm brown, one thread grey, one thread almost blue. The edge has a hand-stitched border that waves a little where the cloth has relaxed. It is less decorative than useful, kept close to the window, because glass, even kind glass, remembers the cold outside. From the window, the town is a quiet arrangement of roofs and chimney shapes. Rain softens their edges. Some rooftops shine faintly where water has gathered on slate. A narrow lane below holds still. A tree leans over it, black against the mist, but not in a lonely way. It leans like something asleep on its feet. The night keeper lowers the lantern's little shade, so more of the light stays on the table and less reaches the glass. The reflection of the room becomes dimmer. The outside becomes softer. No choice is needed between them. The window holds both. The wool blanket inside, and the roofs outside, the lamp inside, and the rain outside, the cedar drawers behind and ours behind, and the mist beyond ours. A map strip from the window seat drawer is laid along the cushion. This one is not opened on the table. It belongs near the glass. It shows only rooftops, a narrow lane, and small warm windows scattered like low stars. The markings are stitched on dark cloth, so they seem to float. The map and the view answer each other without matching exactly. A roof below the real window becomes a roof on the cloth. A warm dot on the cloth becomes a possible room in the town. The cup is brought to the window seat and placed on a little round coaster made from woven rush. It holds no dramatic steam, only the memory of warmth. The coaster darkens beneath it. The blanket receives a small fold near the cup, and that fold casts a shadow like a valley on a very small map. In the hush near the window, the rooms sound separate. The rain is highest, touching the glass in a soft, uneven pattern. The lamp is lower, a faint metal tick now and then. The drawers are lower still, almost imagined, holding the cedar scent in place. Somewhere in the old wall, wood settles by less than a whisper. None of these sounds interrupts another. They layer, and the layers make rest deeper. The rooftops below are not asking for stories. They are sleeping shapes. A window glows here, another there, each one private and complete. No figure passes behind them. No curtain moves. The map room honors the town by not inventing anything for it. It lets the roofs be roofs and the lamps be lamps. The map strip on the cushion is smoothed with 2 fingers. Its thread lane curves around a stitched tree and comes back to a square that may be the very room where it lies. This circularity is the room's kindness again. Even when the cloth shows the world beyond the wall, it finds a way back to the wool, the cup, the cedar, and the low lantern. The night keeper lets the window seat remain undisturbed. The map strip stays open. The blanket stays folded. The cup stays on its coaster. Rain draws fine lines down the pane, and each line briefly bends the warm dots below. The dots return to shape after the drop passes, patient and small. If the table is the room's steady center, the window seat is its softer edge. It is where inside and outside meet without needing to become a door. The air is cooler here, but the blanket answers. The glass is dark, but the lamp answers. The town is below, but the map answers. Everything that might feel distant is gently given a nearer form. After a while, years nothing from anyone, the map strip is rolled around 2 fingers and tucked into the side pocket of the cushion. It fits there as if the cushion has kept a place for it. The cup returns to the table. The blanket is not moved. Its folds have become part of the night, and the window continues holding rain, rooftops, and the dim reflection of the Woollight map room, all resting together in one pane. The velvet road drawer is the narrowest drawer in the room. It sits just below the table height, long and shallow, with a handle worn smooth in the middle. When it opens, it reveals strips of cloth laid side by side like ribbons. Each strip holds one road, or one lane, or one little path that never goes far enough to become tiring. Some roads are brown thread on pale cloth. Some are grey on green. Some are made of tiny dots, some of loose running stitches, some of narrow braid sewn down with nearly invisible thread. None of them has a name. None has a number. They belong to no maps of possession or instruction. They are only ways through gentleness. The night keeper chooses 3 strips and lays them parallel on the table. The first shows a garden wall with rain-dark stones and a covered well. The second shows a lane between 2 rows of sleeping hedges. The third shows a little bridge over a stream narrow enough to step across, though the map offers the bridge anyway, because rest often prefers the easier crossing. A small warm window pin is placed near the end of the hedge lane. Not exactly at the end. Endings can feel too definite, just near enough to suggest that if attention drifts that way, warmth will be there before it needs to ask. The pin's amber center glows, and the velvet drawer seems to hold the same color in its shadows. Once more, Anisan. The brass key is only a softened touch in the pocket as the night keeper reaches for a road weight. It shifts against the worn leather cord without ringing. Then the hand finds the dark water-smoothed glass and sets it gently at the edge of the bridge strip. The bridge on the strip is very small. Its arch is made with 3 grey stitches. The stream below it is 2 lines of blue thread with a pale line between. On one side of the bridge, reeds lean inward. On the other side, a flat stone waits under moss. The road crosses and immediately turns back among the reeds. It is a crossing without consequence, a bridge for the comfort of bridges. The covered well on the first strip has a little roof. The bucket is not drawn. The rope is not drawn. Nothing needs lifting. Nothing needs fetching. The well is only a roofed circle beside a wall, a place where rain taps gently on shingles and stones. Hold coolness through the night. A small bench sits nearby. The bench faces the wall, and that feels restful, because not every seat needs a view. The hedge lane on the second strip is the softest of the three. Its hedges are not sharp. They are made from loose green stitches that blur at the edges. The lane curves once, twice, then returns to its own beginning behind the warm window pin. If followed, it would lead attention in a slow oval, like tracing the rim of a cup. The road drawer remains open. Inside, other strips wait. A market arcade after closing. A bathhouse corridor with towels stacked at the end. A ferry landing under a roof. A greenhouse aisle where pots sleep in rows. A pantry floor with jars turned away from the light. Is possible. Each is possible. None is necessary. The drawer is generous without being demanding. The night keeper turns the three chosen strips so their roads face the same direction, then turns them back as if letting the room decide which orientation feels quieter. The room does not answer in words. The lamp leans slightly. The rain softens. The strips are left as they were first placed. That is enough. For a time, the narration of the room becomes simply this: road, hedge, window, road, bridge, reed, road, wall, well, rain, lamp, cedar, wool, cup, stone. The sequence has no lesson, only small handholds for the mind, none of them requiring a climb. One by one, the strips are returned to the velvet drawer. The bridge strip first, because the stream has finished being heard. The well strip second, because the roof has finished holding rain. The hedge lane last, because its warm window pin must be lifted and placed back in the tray. The drawer closes with the road strips lying flat, side by side, each little path ready to be nothing more than a path whenever the room opens it again. The linen cover has been waiting at the table's far edge, folded into a square. It is plain, heavy enough to lie flat, soft enough to fall over the rounded corners, without a crease that feels severe. When the night-keeper lifts it, the fabric makes a low whisper, and the table seems to grow quieter, even before. It is covered. Only half the table is covered at first. The other half still holds the cup, the river stone, the tray of warm window pins, and one unopened map roll tied with grey thread. The covered half becomes a pale field under the lamp. It reflects very little light. It asks very little of the eyes. The linen does what good covers do. It rests without hiding. The unopened map roll remains beside the covered space. Its grey thread is tied in a loose bow that could fall open with a breath, yet it does not. The roll may contain another porch, another hill, another window, another lane, or it may remain closed all night. The room does not grow better by using everything in it. Some restful things are restful because they are available and unused. The night-keeper moves the cup to the covered side and places it on the linen. The porcelain sounds different there, softer than on wood. The river stone follows, then the dark glass, then the wooden button. Each object changes the linen slightly. A little hollow appears under the stone. A faint shadow gathers under the glass. The button lies flat, its two holes dark and small. This arrangement becomes its own map, though no lines connect the objects. The cup might be a round house. The river stone might be a hill. The glass might be a pond. The button might be a small gate or a moon seen through two windows. The mind can make such meanings if it wants, then let them dissolve. The linen does not insist. Outside, the rain has become steady and fine. It no longer taps separate notes. It makes one soft surface of sound, a veil drawn across the night. The window gathers it without strain. The rooftops below are less visible now. Their shapes remain, but the details have gone, and the loss of detail is restful. The world can be held without being fully seen. The lantern is turned down another small measure. The flame lowers and becomes rounder. Shadows in the cedar drawers deepen, but they do not become hard. The room's colors move closer together. Amber, brown, gray, muted green, the dim blue of rain from anyone, the blue of rain through glass. The wool blanket looks darker at the folds and warmer at the edge. The closed compass box is returned to the table for a moment, not opened this time. It rests on the linen like a book that will not be read. Its dark wood and brass latch make a small square of presence. The night keeper sets one hand near it, then withdraws the hand. The compass can remain closed. Direction can remain sleeping. The unopened map roll is finally moved onto the linen as well. Its grey thread crosses the fabric and makes a line that could be a road if anyone wanted it to be. No one does. The roll is simply a roll. The line is simply thread. The room deepens when things are allowed to be exactly themselves. A soft pause gathers here, not empty, not waiting, only unfilled. The kind of pause that comes after a page is turned, but before the next sentence is read. The Woollight Map room holds that pause well. It has enough wood, cloth, rain, and lamplight to make a pause feel furnished. The linen cover is drawn a little farther across the table, covering the place where the road strips had been. The tray of pins remains uncovered, because tiny lamps should not be put fully away until the end. The river stone remains visible because its weight gives the table a center. The cup remains on the linen because porcelain on cloth is one of the room's quietest sounds. No map is opened for several minutes of story time. The room is allowed to be its own map. Wall to window, window to seat, seat to blanket, blanket to table, table to linen, linen to cup, cup to stone, stone to drawer, drawer to wall. Every root returns. Every object belongs. The listener does not have to travel far in a room arranged this way. At last, the night keeper folds back one corner of the linenkin, just enough to show the wood beneath. The table reappears like a shoreline. The cup is lifted from cloth to wood, and its sound brightens by a shade. The cover stays mostly in place, softening the room for the later maps, or for the slow return that is already beginning to gather at the edges of the night. The map of warm windows is kept in a round box rather than a drawer. The box is covered in faded cloth, its lid fitting snugly but not tightly. When the lid is lifted, the inside smells faintly of cedar and wool, as if it has borrowed the best parts of the room and kept them quietly. The map inside is dark, nearly indigo, folded into quarters. When opened, it shows windows before roads. Small amber shapes are scattered across the cloth, some square, some tall, some no more than little dots. Around them are roof lines, lanes, garden walls, and the suggestion of rain, all stitched in low colors so the windows can remain the calm center. The night keeper places the map near the actual window, where the rain-dark glass can look down at its smaller version. Outside, a few real windows glow below the room. On the cloth, many more glow, but none brightly enough to disturb. Each one suggests shelter without requiring a story. A window can be warm without explaining who sits behind it. A room can be kind and still remain unentered. One amber square on the map rests beneath a stitched roof with a round chimney. Another lies beside a tiny courtyard. Another is set in what might be a bathhouse wall, another in a greenhouse, another in a ferry cabin, another in a small attic room with a sloped ceiling. The map gathers all these possible places and makes them equally quiet. The river stone is not used for this map. It would be too heavy for the dark cloth. Instead, the shell is brought from the velvet drawer and placed near the lower edge. Its pale curve holds the fold open without pressing. The shell's inside catches the lamp and glows faintly, answering the amber windows with a softer color. The map has no central road. Attention can move across it from window to window like a hand touching beads on a string. Warm square, dark roof, warm dot, garden wall, warm rectangle, rain stitch, warm square. Again, there is no order to memorize. The pattern is loose enough to let thought loosen with it. The room's own window becomes darker while the map is open. Rain gathers there in threads. The rooftops below are barely visible now, but the few real lights remain. The map's invented lights and the town's actual lights seem to keep each other company. Neither asks which one is nearer. Nearness is not measured by distance here, but by how softly something can be held in attention. A small detail appears near the center of the map. 3 windows in a row under one long roof. Beneath them is a stitched line that might be a covered walkway. At one end, a bench is shown by a brown mark. At the other, a tree is shown by muted green knots. It could become a scene. The map leaves it at just enough. The night keeper turns the map slightly, so the 3 windows face the lamp. Their amber thread brightens and then settles. The shell holds its edge. The linen cover lies folded under the lower corner. The cup sits to the side, quiet and round. The compass box remains closed. The pocket remains quiet. All the room's objects seem to understand that the window map is not for going out. It is for remembering that many rooms can be warm at once. For a while, the map is described only by light and dark, amber and indigo, roof and rain, window and wall, shell and cloth, lamp and reflection. This is enough language for the hour. Too many words would wake the little windows into stories, and they are more restful as lights. When the map is ready to close, the night keeper folds the dark cloth carefully, so no window is sharply creased. The quarters come together with the amber dots inside, not gone, only covered. The shell returns to its velvet groove. The round box receives the folded map, and the lid settles with a soft breath of cloth on cloth. After the map is closed, the real window seems warmer, though nothing has changed. The rain is still there. The town is still below. The blanket is still folded. The table is still half covered in linen. But the room has remembered many quiet windows and returned to one. That is enough. One warm room can hold the thought of many then. Let them sleep. Near the back of the widest drawer lies a map folded into a square, so small it could fit beneath the porcelain cup. Its cloth is pale grey. Its edge is stitched with a single line of amber. The night keeper brings it to the table after the window map is closed, and for a moment it seems too small to open into anything. But when the first fold is released, a little room appears. Then another fold, and the room becomes clearer. A table, a tall window, a low lamp, a wool blanket on a seat, rows of drawers along one wall. It is neither an exact copy of the Woollight map room nor a puzzle. It is more like the way a room appears in memory, after the eyes have grown heavy, simplified and kind. The table on the little map has its own tiny map on it. But the tiny map is only a pale square. The window has rain marks, but they are no more than 3 grey threads. The lamp is a dot. The blanket is a warm brown line. The drawers are small stacked rectangles without handles. Everything is reduced to the amount of detail that can be held without effort. The night keeper places the little room map in the center of the actual table. The larger room gathers around it. Table hold window near window, lamp above lamp, blanket across from blanket, drawer beside drawer. The effect feels soothing, the way a lullaby can repeat itself in a smaller phrase. The map's little door is shown closed. A warm line along its edge suggests that the door, like the actual door, keeps its warmth. Beside the tiny door, there is a mark that might be a little hook, though nothing hangs from it. The absence feels right. The threshold has already been crossed, asked of the evening's care, already carried as part of the evening's care. This map leads inward rather than outward, though never deeply enough to become a thought that needs following. It simply reminds the room of itself. The rain on the real glass continues. The lamp on the real table lowers by a fraction. The real cedar drawers keep their scent. The real blanket keeps its fold. The map says, softly, here is what is already here. A small square of shadow crosses the little table on the map as the lantern flame moves. For a breath, the map's lamp dot and the actual lamp flame seem to align. Then they separate again. Nothing opens. Nothing changes. The recognition is enough. The night keeper rests both hands near the map, not touching it. The pause is long and plain. It lets the nested room settle into the mind, without asking the mind to make anything of it. A room can be looked at, remembered, even drawn inside itself, and still remain only a room. Around the little map, the objects form a wider circle. Cup, stone, tray, compass box, linen, roll of grey thread map, lantern. Around those objects, the room forms another circle. Table, drawers, window seat, door, shelves, beams. Around the room, the night forms another. Rooftops, rain, mist, sleeping lanes. The circles are not traps or tasks. They are layers of quiet, each one holding the next with more room than it needs. The little map is not folded right away. It rests open while the room returns to ordinary proportions. The table feels full-sized again. The window feels tall again. The drawers feel many again. The wool blanket feels heavy and real. Sometimes, a small copy of a place can make the place itself feel more solid, more available, easier to rest inside. When the map is folded, the tiny room disappears in reverse. The door first, then the drawers, then the blanket, then the lamp, then the table, then the window. The last visible mark is one grey thread of rain. It slides under the fold and becomes cloth. The folded square is placed in the top drawer, not hidden, only kept. The drawer closes. The actual room remains unchanged, which is exactly the comfort. It has been mapped, remembered, folded, and returned, and still the lamp is low, the rain is even, the linen is soft, and the tall window holds the night without letting the night grow cold inside. The later part of the night in the Woollight Map room is for soft revisiting, not new routes, the way a hand may pass once more over folded cloth before putting it away. The maps that have been opened are brought near the center of the table, not to be read again, but to be recognized by touch. The porch map is first. Rolled and tied, it still carries the idea of dry boards under rain. The ribbon is checked with one light touch and left as it is. There is no need to open the porch. The bench remains inside the roll. The railing remains inside. The rain beyond the eaves remains there too, not falling now, only remembered as blue-grey beads in the fabric. The hill lantern map is next. The hill lantern is next. Its wool backing has cooled, but when the night keeper lifts it, the thickness of the cloth still suggests the easy rise of the path. The lanterns are hidden within the roll. The mist thread is tucked in its little corner pocket. The sleeping roofs below the hill are safe inside the green. A hand rests on the roll for a moment and then places it in the drawer, lined with blue-grey velvet. The road strips lie in their narrow drawer, but the drawer is opened one last time so the strips can be seen lying flat. Hedge lane, bridge, covered well, ferry landing, pantry floor, greenhouse aisle. So many small paths, all quiet, all short, all returning before distance can gather. The dark glass weight is already back in its groove. The warm window pins are in their tray. The drawer remains open, just long enough for the lamp to touch the top strip, then it closes. The round box with the window map is set on the table. Its lid is not lifted. The cloth-covered box itself is enough. Many warm windows sleep inside it, folded into indigo. The shell rests in the velvet drawer again. The actual windows beyond the room show only a few lights now, blurred by rain. The map inside the box and the town outside the glass are both allowed to be mostly unseen. The tiny room map is touched last. It is folded into its pale square and kept in the top drawer. The night keeper does not open it. The room has no need to see itself again. It has become simple enough without the reminder. Table, lamp, linen, cup, drawers, window, blanket, door. The linen cover is drawn farther across the table. It passes over small marks left by map corners, over a faint line of dust where the river stone rested, over a warmed patch of wood near the lamp. It covers without erasing. Under linen, the table is still the table. Under sleep, the mind is still itself, only quieter, less arranged around edges. The lantern is lowered another careful measure. Its flame becomes a small amber bead behind the shade. Shadows widen gently. The cedar drawers lose their separate outlines and become one warm wall. The beams above become darker, like a ceiling in a remembered room. The porcelain, cups, is carried to the side shelf and placed upside down on the folded linen square, so its rim can rest and dry in the old-fashioned way. Rain thins and thickens, thins and thickens. The pattern is slow enough to become uncountable. It does not mark time. It lets the need to mark time drift away. The room has no clock, no bell, no ticking thing beyond the occasional soft settling of lamp metal. Even that sound is rare now. The night keeper moves through the room only as much as needed. A drawer handle is touched, a roll adjusted, a cover smoothed, a window seat blanket left exactly where it lies. The faceless presence remains in gesture, not story. Care needs no face in this room. Care is the lamp lowered before the light becomes too much. Care is the map folded before the route becomes effort. Care is the door kept warm. On the window seat, the blanket's folds have deepened. The cushion holds the small rolled map strip in its pocket. The rooftops below are almost gone into mist. One window remains visible. Then another appears. When rain shifts, then both soften. The room does not follow them. It gives them no words. It simply lets their warmth be part of the night. The final maps are sorted by feel. Smooth linen with smooth linen. Wool backed with wool backed. Dark cloth in round box. Road strips in the narrow velvet drawer, objects in their grooves. The order is gentle, not exacting. A map can be a little crooked and still be at rest. A drawer can hold a soft corner. A ribbon can lie at an angle. When the last drawer closes, the room seems larger because less is visible. The table is mostly linen. The lamp is low. The door is closed. The window is rain. The wool blanket is shadow and warmth. The Woollight Map room has offered its roots and gathered them back, and what remains is the kind of stillness that does not feel empty, because it has been filled slowly and then cleared with care. A lower drawer opens with the softened sigh of cedar sliding against cedar. Inside lies a map rolled around a narrow wooden rod, wrapped in a strip of grey wool. The wool has been used many times and has taken the shape of the roll, so it opens easily when the night keeper sets it on the table. No knot has to be undone, no seal has to be broken. The cloth simply loosens and gives the room another small root to hold. This map is darker than the first ones, not in a heavy way, but in the way water looks darker when lamps are reflected in it. Blue-grey thread makes a canal no wider than 2 fingers. Along one side, a covered walkway follows the water beneath stitched eaves. Along the other, low houses lean close together, each one marked by a single amber square. The rain on the real window answers. The rain suggested in the cloth, and for a moment, the room seems to contain 2 kinds of water, both quiet, both kept behind shelter. The canal map does not ask for a boat. A small boat is shown there, tied beneath a roofed landing. But it stays tied. Its oars lie crossed inside it. A folded blanket rests on the little seat. The boat is part of the stillness, like a cup left beside a chair. The water beneath it is made of long threads, each one placed beside the next with patient care. Where the thread catches lamplight, the canal glows as if the water has learned to sleep, while, still remembering the sky, the night keeper smooths the upper edge with the flat of one hand. The cloth settles against the table. A tiny bridge appears near the center of the map, low and rounded, only high enough for the tide boat to pass beneath on some other night. Tonight it is a gentle arch, no more demanding than the curve of a closed eyelid. A lamp hangs under the bridge, and its small amber bead is doubled in the stitched water below. Along the covered walkway, Every doorway is already closed in a friendly way. The eaves keep off rain. The stone path is dry near the walls. A row of clay pots sits under the shelter, each one holding a plant drawn by 3 green stitches. The plants do not bend in wind. They simply stand in the hush beneath the roof, washed in amber from the windows. The map gives the room a sound without making noise. It suggests water touching stone, rain tapping above a covered walk, rope resting against a wooden post, and a lamp making its small steady warmth under a bridge. The actual room remains still. The cedar drawers remain around it. The porcelain cup remains beside the folded linen. The river stone keeps one corner from curling. A small side path leaves the canal and returns almost at once. It passes a bench beneath an awning, a potted fern, a window with curtains drawn, and then it finds the canal again. This is how the Woollight maps like to move. They let the mind wander a few steps and then bring it back, before the wandering becomes anything with edges. The path does not promise discovery. It promises return. The night keeper turns the map only a little, so the water runs parallel with the table edge. The room becomes calmer when the canal lies straight. Rain outside the window continues in fine silver lines. Rain on the map remains thread. Between the two, the lamp one steady place. The lamp makes one steady place where both kinds of rain can rest. When the canal map has been looked over long enough, it is not put away quickly. Its upper edge is folded down once. The bridge disappears first, then the covered walkway, then the tide boat, then the row of amber windows. The canal itself remains visible for one breath longer, a blue-grey line held under lamplight. Then it too is folded into cloth, and the wool strip returns around the roll without sound. The next map is not rolled. It is folded into a square and kept in a shallow tray lined with faded green cloth. When the tray is lifted to the table, the map looks almost like a quilt piece waiting for a careful hand. Its corners are soft from many evenings. The fold lines cross it in a calm grid, and the colors are the muted colors of sleep. Moss, oatmeal, rain gray, dark leaf, and a small amount of warm window amber. The night keeper opens one fold and then another. A field appears, then a lane, then a low stone wall, then a cluster of roofs no larger than lentils. The map does not stretch away toward distance. It gathers inward. Every stitched field leans toward a center where a round pond has been made from a piece of smooth blue cloth. Around the pond, pale stitches mark reeds. On one side, a willow tree is suggested by green thread falling in soft lines. All of it held still by the fabric. This is the map of little fields after rain has passed and everything has become quiet under cloud. The lane is not muddy, the stones are not sharp, the grass does not need to be crossed. It is simply there, a soft green thought within the cloth. A small gate stands open between two walls, but the opening leads only from one restful field to another. Beyond it, 3 warm windows face the pond. The wool blanket on the real window seat seems to recognize the map. Its folded edge has the same quiet weight as the field squares. The blanket keeps the shape of warmth without needing anyone beneath it. The map keeps the shape of walking without requiring footsteps. Together, they make the room feel padded at its edges, as if the walls have drawn closer in kindness. On the little field map, the road is made of seed stitches. They are uneven in the tender way, Handwork can be uneven, one slightly larger, one slightly smaller, all of them following the lane as it curves by the pond. A cart is shown under a small roof, but it is resting with its handle down. A rake leans against a wall, but no work waits behind it. A basket sits near the gate, empty and clean, placed there as if it has done all it needed to do before night came. The night keeper places the river stone at the lower corner. The stone's weight is enough to calm the cloth. The map gives a small, flattening sigh. At the far edge, a pale stitched hill rises only a little, round as a pillow. On top of it, one amber dot shows a lamp in a cottage window. The dot is not brighter than the others. It is simply higher, resting at the top of the small hill like a quiet star kept close to earth. No creature needs to move across the fields. No gate needs to swing. The map is already full because its stillness is detailed. There are hedges made of tiny green knots, a washline without washing, a stepping stone at the pond edge, a shed with its door closed, and 3 fence posts leaning gently together. The eye can move from one to the next the way. A hand moves over a familiar blanket, noticing texture without needing a story. The real rain darkens the window beyond the table. The field map holds the memory of rain after it has softened everything. The room holds both at once. It holds water moving down glass and water already settled in the pond. It holds the roof above and the stitched roofs below. It holds the low lantern and the small lamps in the cloth houses. All of them are quiet enough to belong to the same breath. When the map is folded again, each field returns under another field. The pond closes into blue cloth. The willow becomes a green line, then a fold, then a memory in the tray. The night keeper sets the square back into its green lining. Nothing on the table feels emptier afterward. The room has simply kept the softness and released the shape. Side. On the side shelf beneath the window, there is an atlas kept between 2 pieces of dark felt. It is not heavy, it is not grand. Its cover is made of rain-smoothed boards, thin and slightly bowed, with a strip of linen along the spine. When the night keeper brings it to the table, the atlas catches the window's reflection before it opens. For a moment, the cover shows the real rain, the real lamp, and the blurred amber shape of the room. Inside, the pages are not paper exactly. They are thin cloth washed with pale grey, so smooth that lamplight slides over them, like light over glass. The first page shows only panes. Tall panes, small panes, attic panes, greenhouse panes, porch panes, and the rounded panes of a door near a garden wall. None of them have words. Each pane holds a different softness of night. One pane holds rain. One holds mist. One holds the dark blue of a sky after clouds have thinned. One holds only the reflection of a lamp from inside the room where the atlas is being read. It is hard to say whether that last pane belongs to the map or to the Woollight Map room itself. The difference does not matter. Both are warm. Both are safe. Both return the gaze without asking anything from it. The night keeper turns a page. The atlas makes a sound like fabric touching fabric. A row of windows appears along a roofline. Below them, roofs sleep in layers, slate and moss and soft brown, each one catching just a little of the lamp. A chimney is drawn by 4 grey stitches. No smoke rises from it. The house is warm without needing to show proof. The windows are proof enough. Another page shows a conservatory at night, but not the kind with sharp glass or bright light. Its panes are fogged softly from within. Leaves press near the glass in dark, green shapes. A bench rests under a hanging lantern. A watering can has been placed upside down on a shelf, its work finished. The floor tiles are warmed by amber squares from the lamp. Rain beads on the outside and stays there. The real tall window of the map room answers every page. Its rain is slower now, or seems slower, because the room has become slower around it. Trails meet at the lower pane and vanish into the sill. The sill itself is wide enough to hold a small folded cloth, a shell, and a pincushion with 3 amber-headed pins. These things do not need to belong to the atlas. They belong to the room, and the room lends them to the atlas by reflection. The night keeper turns to a page where every pane is dark except one. The one lit pane is on the second floor of a narrow house, drawn in brown thread with a blue-grey roof. Inside the pane, there is no figure, no scene, only a square of warm color. That is enough. A lit window at night is not a demand to enter. It is a small assurance that somewhere warmth has been kept. The atlas rests open, while the lamp lowers a little in its own chimney. Shadows from the window muntins fall across the cloth pages and become part of the map. For a while, the atlas cannot be separated from the room. The drawn panes, the real panes, the reflected panes, and the remembered panes all lie together. The mind can pass from one to the next without deciding which is closest. Then the pages are closed by degrees. The conservatory folds under the roofline. The attic panes fold under the porch panes. The single warm square disappears last beneath the rain-smoothed cover. The atlas returns to its dark felt on the side shelf. The window remains, and because the atlas has been open, the window seems even kinder, as if it has learned many ways to hold weather outside and warmth within. There is one drawer in the lower wall that does not hold a map by itself. It holds the things that make maps rest better. The handles is smooth from use. When it opens, it reveals small rolls of wool, linen ties, flat stones, little shells, dark glass weights, and squares of soft felt cut to fit the corners of cloth. Everything lies in separate shallow place, sorted by touch more than by purpose. The wool in this drawer has many colors, all quiet. Gray like rain on slate, green like shadow under leaves, brown like a table after lamplight has touched it for years, cream like folded cloth near a hearth. A narrow strip of amber wool rests by itself, wound around a wooden card. It is the color used for window dots on the maps, and even in the drawer it seems to keep a little warmth. The night keeper lifts one square of wool and sets it on the table. The square is thick, soft, and slightly uneven at the edge. It was made to lie under a map weight, so the weight will not mark the cloth. It is a small kindness no one would notice from far away. The Woollight map room is made of such kindnesses: felt under stone, linen around wood, wool beneath glass. Drawers that close softly. A lamp trimmed low enough to spare the eyes. A small map fragment lies at the back of the drawer. It shows only a corner of something. A roof edge, a bit of garden wall, and 3 amber stitches in a line. It may once have been a practice piece. It may have been kept because the stitches were pleasant. The fragment has no root and no center. It is only a restful corner. The night keeper places it on the table beside the wool square, and the room accepts it. As speed, as if even an unfinished map can belong beside. The fragment is a tiny card of green thread. The thread is wound so neatly that it looks like a field seen from above. Beside, it is grey thread, good for stones and rain. Beside, that is blue thread, quiet enough for canals, pond edges, and the shadow beneath bridges. None of the thread waits impatiently. Thread can be still for years and still be ready. The drawer seems to know this. The lantern reaches into the drawer without fully entering it. Its light touches the amber wool. Then, the shell waits. Then a row of flat river stones. The rest remains in soft shadow. That is how the room keeps itself from becoming too bright. It offers one small thing, then lets the others stay restful until their hour. The fragment on the table is turned once. When its roof edge faces the window, the 3 amber stitches resemble the town below. When it faces the lamp, they resemble the windows in the earlier field map. When it faces the cedar drawers, they become simply 3 warm stitches, no more and no less. The night keeper leaves them as stitches. A restful thing does not need to become more than itself. The wool square is returned first, then the fragment. Then the thread cards settle back into their places. The drawer closes almost all the way and pauses, with a finger's width of shadow showing. In that little shadow, the amber wool still glows faintly. Then the drawer closes completely. The room has not traveled anywhere, but it has moved deeper into its own materials: wool, thread, felt, stone, shell, linen, cedar, rain, and the lamp. After the drawer closes, the table feels softer. Nothing visible has changed, except the placement of a stone and the angle of the folded cover. Yet the room has been reminded of what it is made from. The maps are not only roads, they are cloth held kindly. They are roots made from texture. They are a way for quiet hands to give shape to quiet places, and then let that shape rest. The roof garden fold is kept between 2 linen boards, thin as a pressed handkerchief. When the boards are opened, the map inside breathes outward only a little. It has been folded many times into the same shape, and the creases have become part of its drawing. One crease is a garden path. One is the edge of a low parapet. One is the line where a row of roof tiles meets a bed of night herbs. The garden shown, there is above a quiet row of houses. It is not high in a dizzy way. It is only high enough for lamps to appear below, and rain to sound softer on the roofs. A long wooden bench rests beneath a canvas awning. 3 clay pots sit beside it, holding lavender mint and a plant with round grey leaves. No scent rises strongly from them. The map suggests them with colour and texture, and the room supplies the rest in a way that asks nothing. At the garden's far side, a small glass frame shelters seedlings. The panes are clouded with warmth. A folded watering cloth lies on the frame, and a little tin cup has been placed upside down beside it. The cup catches a bead of lamp on its stitched rim. No one needs to water anything now. No one needs to tend the pots. The roof garden has already received all the care it needs for the night. The night keeper lays 2 dark glass weights at the map's upper corners. The weights are smooth and almost black, but when the lantern touches them, they show a deep green inside. They hold the roof garden open without pressing it flat. Some maps like a little curve, This one rises gently, gently where the awning is stitched, and the curve makes the bench look even more sheltered. Beyond the parapet, the roofs are shown as overlapping shapes of slate and wool. Their edges are softened by mist. A few windows glow below, but they are farther away than the garden itself. The garden is the near thing. It is the place where a small bench waits, where mint leaves hold a little rain, where the awning makes a square of dryness, where the night has room to settle without spreading too wide. A narrow path circles the pots and returns to the bench. Its circle is incomplete in one place, not because anything is wrong, but because the cloth fold interrupts it. The interruption is pleasant. It lets the path rest. The mind can follow the path almost around, then stop at the crease and feel no need to repair it. Sleep often arrives through such unfinished circles, gentle enough to be left as they are. The real Woollight map room seems to lift slightly around the garden map. Not in movement, only in feeling. The window shows rooftops below the room, and the map shows rooftops below the garden. And the two layers fit together like blankets. The actual rain on the glass becomes the rain beyond the awning. The lamp on the table becomes the lamp implied inside the small glass frame. The night keeper touches the linen board, and the garden fold begins to close. First, the pots disappear under the awning. Then the bench folds into the path. Then the slate roofs fold beneath the parapet. Last of all, the little glass frame remains visible, a small warm rectangle at the crease. It rests there until the final fold covers it. The linen boards close around the garden, without a click. They are tied with a soft strip that does not need to be tightened. The roof garden returns to the side shelf near the window, where it can keep company with the rain glass atlas. Outside, the town remains below. Inside, the room remains above. Between them, the memory of a bench under an awning stays as quiet as a folded cloth. In the upper right drawer, under a folded linen cover, there is a round map. Most of the Woollight maps are squares or long rolls, but this one is nearly a circle, trimmed with a narrow edge of dark blue thread. The night keeper lifts it with both hands and places it in the center of the table, where it looks like a quiet moon laid flat. The round map shows a harbor, but only a small one, the kind held inside a curve of land. The water is stitched in rings, blue-gray near the edge and softer toward the center. Around the harbor, lamps stand on short posts, each one marked by a tiny amber bead. Their reflections in the water are not long. They are small, rounded, and still, as if even reflection has become drowsy. 3 boats rest along the inner wall. One has a canvas cover. One has a folded sail tied around its mast. One is no more than a little dark shape with a rope line leading to a post. The boats do not point outward. They sit side by side as if listening to the lamps. The harbor mouth is shown at the top of the map, but it is a gentle opening, almost closed by 2 soft curves of land. Beyond it, the cloth becomes plain dark blue with no marks to follow. This is a map of staying near shore. The harbor has enough water for movement and enough stone for rest. It has enough lamps to make the dark friendly and enough dark to let the lamps be small. Along one side, a low building with a sloped roof holds 3 warm windows. Along the other, folded nets are drawn as pale loops, already dry, already put away. The night keeper places the porcelain cup at one edge of the round map to keep it from turning. The cup is empty and clean, and its small blue flower faces the harbor, as if it too is looking at the lamps. The river stone rests at the opposite side. Between cup and stone, the round map becomes steady. The map's circle changes the room's feeling. Straight edges become less important. The table seems rounder. The lamplight pools more softly. Even the rain trails on the window seem to curve at the bottom before they vanish. The eye can move around the harbor more than once, passing lamps, boats, nets, windows, and water. Then, returning to the first lamp without needing to count how many have passed. At the lower edge of the harbor, a stair descends into the water by 3 shallow steps. The steps are drawn wide and dry at the top, darker near the bottom. No one uses them. They simply show that water and stone can meet gently. Beside the steps, a coil of rope lies in a calm spiral. Its thread spiral repeats the harbor's circle in miniature. Silem Ratang. The night keeper turns the map a fraction so the harbor mouth faces away from the door and toward the window. The change is so small that it could be missed, but the room accepts it. The round water now seems to hold the rain outside the glass, not as weather, but as reflection. All movement has become contained. All distance has curled into a harbor. When the round map is lifted, it does not fold at once. It is placed between 2 soft circles of felt, one below and one above. The felt keeps its edge from creasing. Then, the whole little moon of harbor and lamps returns to the drawer. The porcelain cup goes back to the side of the table. The river stone returns to the linen corner. The room keeps the harbor's circle in its quiet. A rounded place where thought can turn and turn until turning becomes rest. Near the end of the long table, there is a shallow wooden box called the Index, though it contains no words. It holds small tokens made from cloth, shell, dark glass, pressed wool, and smooth bits of wood. Each token belongs to a kind of place, a blue-gray oval for water, a green knot for a field, a tiny amber square for a window, a crescent of brown wool for a roof, a white shell chip for rain heard from shelter. The night keeper brings the index box closer to the lantern. Its compartments are no bigger than thimbles. The tokens inside do not rattle because each one rests on felt. The box is arranged the way a quiet mind might arrange its own thoughts before sleep, not by importance, not by urgency, only by softness, color, and the comfort of things being easy to find. One amber square is placed played beside the folded rain-glass atlas. It does not label the atlas. It simply remembers the warm panes. A blue-gray oval is set near the canal roll. It remembers water under a covered bridge. A green knot rests beside the little field tray. It remembers the willow, the pond, and the open gate. The tokens make a smaller map of the maps, a table of resting places with no need for writing. The index is useful in the slowest possible way. It lets the room gather what has been opened without making a list. It lets the night keeper return each feeling to its shelf. Water, field, window, roof, garden, harbor, wool. The words themselves are not spoken in the room. The objects say enough by lying where they are. The amber square catches the lamp and glows strongly for a breath. Then it dims to its ordinary warmth. The blue-gray oval holds a cooler light. The green knot is almost shadow until the lantern leans toward it. The shell chip shines at its edge like a raindrop, though it is dry. Each token receives the lamp differently, and none of them need to be brighter than the others. A small empty compartment remains in the index box. It is lined with dark felt. For a moment it seems to be waiting for some final token, but waiting here is not need. It is room. It is the kindness of leaving a little space unfilled. The night keeper does not fill it. The empty square stays empty, as peaceful as a blank part of a map where nothing has to be drawn. The tokens are returned one by one. The amber square first, then the blue oval, then the green knot, then the shell chip, then the brown roof crescent. The order does not matter, and because it does not matter, the returning feels even softer. The box accepts each piece with a tiny settling touch against felt. When the lid lowers, the index becomes plain again. A shallow wooden box with rounded corners. It could hold sewing things. It could hold buttons. It could hold nothing at all, and still belong here. The night keeper slides it back to the end of the table, where its shadow joins the shadow of the linen cover. The table is nearly clear now, but not bare. A clear table in the Woollight Map room does not feel empty. It feels prepared. The maps that have been opened are resting where they belong. The tokens have remembered them and let them go. The lamp remains. The cup remains. The window remains. The door remains warm at the edge of the room, waiting without asking attention to turn toward it too soon. Above the index box, a narrow shelf runs beneath the lowest row of cedar drawers. It is not a display shelf in any formal sense. It simply holds a few small things that have nowhere urgent to be. A smooth shell, a folded grey ribbon, a dark bead of glass, a tiny square of cloud-colored wool, a little dish of amber pins. They rest there together, like weather made small enough to keep indoors. The night keeper lifts the shell first and turns it toward the lamp. Its outer side is pale and matte, but inside it holds a soft pearl shadow, the color of rain when morning is still far away. It is placed beside the folded atlas for one breath, then returned to the shelf. The shell has done all it needed to do by catching light once and giving it back quietly. The grey ribbon is next. It is neither tied nor untied, only folded over itself in loose waves. It could mark a page, bind a map, or rest under a drawer handle to keep wood from tapping wood. Tonight it remains a ribbon. The night keeper smooths one fold and lets the rest keep their natural curve. A small thing is allowed to stay small here. The dark glass bead is rolled no farther than the width of a finger. It makes no sharp sound because the table is covered by linen. Inside the bead, the lantern becomes a tiny amber moon. Outside the bead, the room remains broad and warm. The bead is placed beside the shell, and together they make a little night sky with one low light. In it, the cloud-colored wool square is soft enough to bend under its own weight. It is lifted and laid over the palm, then placed on the shelf again beneath the amber pins. The pins are not for fastening anything now. Their heads glow faintly in the dish, round and patient, like distant windows reduced to dots. For a few quiet moments, the shelf becomes a map without lines. Shell for rain, ribbon for mist, glass for night, wool for cloud, pins for for windows. Nothing is named aloud. Nothing is arranged into importance. The objects simply show that even weather can be held gently when it enters a room as texture, color, and lamplight. A final small object waits at the back of the shelf, a button covered in soft brown cloth. It belongs to nothing now. It fastens no coat, closes no bag, and asks for no matching piece. The night keeper sets it beside the ribbon for a moment. Its roundness repeats the harbor map in miniature, and its cloth repeats the fields. Then it returns to the shelf, useful only as a quiet circle. Then the shelf returns to itself. The shell slides back to the left. The ribbon keeps its fold. The bead rests in the small hollow worn into the wood. The wool square lies flat beneath the dish. The amber pins remain together. The night keeper's hand withdraws, and the little weather of the shelf stays behind. Indoor rain, indoor mist, indoor cloud, all sonned into objects that will still be there when the lantern is low. The door of the Woollight map room has been closed for so long that it has become part of the wall's quiet. Its panels are dark wood, warmer near the latch, where lamplight has rested on the grain. A small round lock sits beneath the handle. It holds no severity. It looks almost like a button on a coat, something made to fasten from anyone. Something may fasten warmth around a room. The night keeper stands near the door without opening it. There is no need to leave yet, and no need to stay by effort. The room has reached the hour when both are true. The maps are sleeping in their drawers. The table is covered. The cup is on the side shelf. The compass is closed. The window seat holds its blanket. The rain writes and unwrites itself on the glass. A warm door is different from a locked door in a tense story. This door keeps no one from anything. It keeps the room gathered. It keeps the rain outside, where rain can be beautiful without being cold. It keeps the stair beyond the threshold quiet. It holds the shape of arrival, even at the end. The small line of light beneath it is amber, not bright. It may come from the landing lamp outside, or from the room's own lantern reflecting along the floorboards. The source matters less than the line itself, showing that warmth can be on both sides. The Woollight map room is not a place one escapes into. It is a place one enters and later leaves with the same softness. The night keeper touches the linen cover once more, smoothing a corner that had lifted near the table edge. The cloth lies flat. A small wrinkle remains, and the wrinkle is allowed to remain. Perfect smoothness would be too awake. A soft wrinkle gives the eyes somewhere easy to stop. The lamp's shade is turned, so the brightest part of the glow faces the wall. The wall becomes amber. The table becomes dimmer. The drawers become quiet shapes. The room is now less a collection of objects and more a single warm volume, like the inside of a closed hand. The rain outside changes from lines to dots and back again. It may be lighter now, or the room may simply be listening less closely. Below the window, the town holds its own sleep. Roofs, lanes, small rooms, folded curtains, dark gardens, wet stones, and all the little ordinary things that do not need to be named. The map room does not finish like a tale, with a door thrown open or a light going out. It finishes by becoming more itself. The table gives up its maps. The drawers keep them. The lantern gives up its brightness. The wall keeps the warmth. The window gives up detail. The rain keeps the sound. The mind gives up the need to follow. The room keeps the route. A final check is made, though it is barely a check. The round box is in place. The velvet drawer is closed. The river stone rests on the side tray. The shell is in its groove. The road strips lie flat. The hill map has its wool side inward. The porch map's ribbon is loose but holding. The tiny room map is folded into its square. Everything is close enough to order, and close enough is the room's preferred kind of order. The night keeper pauses near the window seat. The blanket is not straightened. Its fold has become exactly right by being left alone. The cushion pocket holds the little rolled strip. The rain-dark glass reflects only the lowest shape of the lantern now. No face appears there. The lay, only the lamp, the table, and the suggestion of a sleeve moving away. The door waits. The warm line beneath it waits. The lock waits without hardness. The upstairs landing beyond it is quiet, and the stairs beyond that are quiet, and the lower rooms beyond the stairs are quiet. In whatever way, lower rooms keep night. Nothing calls from them. Nothing asks to be done. For a little while longer, the Woollight Map room remains open inside the story, though every map has been put away. This is the peaceful unfinishedness of the place. The room does not need a final discovery. It only needs to stay warm while attention grows lighter. Somewhere in the cedar, the memory of the porch rain rests beside the hill lanterns. Somewhere in the linen, the table remembers the compass. Somewhere in the window, the town blurs and returns. The lantern. The night keeper lowers the lantern until the flame is small enough to be felt more than seen. The door's warm line remains. The room is almost ready to be left, as it was found, prepared for another night, another gentle map, another soft crossing that goes nowhere farther than rest. The last light in the Woollight Map room gathers close to the lantern. It no longer reaches the upper shelves or searches the corners. It rests low on the table, on the folded linen, on the side of the river stone, and on the small, round lock in the warm door. The maps sleep in cedar. The porch is rain and cloth. The hill is wool and mist. The road strips are velvet and thread. The warm windows are folded into their dark round box. The little room within the room is a pale square in the top drawer. Nothing has been lost by being put away. Soft places know how to keep themselves. The night keeper stands at the threshold and lets the room settle behind the heart of the flame. The tall window holds its rain. The wool blanket holds its fold. The cup rests upside down on linen. The compass rests without direction. The warm door waits with its small, quiet lock. The lantern stays low. The door stays warm. The key returns to my pocket, its brass softened by the worn leather cord. I will be here tomorrow night. Sleep well.